Welcome to this next episode of YouTube, where I've entitled it First Significant Snowfall. And even though I dated the slide the 21st November today, we actually had the snow last week. But I wanted to kind of cover a little bit of events and give you a chance to listen to the pack howl before we start. The howling clip was filmed on Thursday night, and by Friday morning, this is what we woke up to. It started snowing probably in the middle of the night, 2, 3, maybe 4 in the morning. And when we got here for wolf care, the ground was white, and the wolves were certainly excited because of the snow, and including the Arctics. At first, they didn't know what to think. It was really windy, and it was kind of sleeting, and not a very nice day whatsoever, but they started to pick up a little bit of excitement as they started to sniff the ground and certainly make tracks. They utilized the dens, and we did have a request about whether we could put cameras in the dens, and unfortunately we need to have electricity, and there is no electricity in the dens, and not to mention the fact that the wolves are right at the same height as the camera, and they would trash it. Sometimes we know wolves have curiosities, and sometimes those curiosities get us right a bit too close to the camera. So it isn't an option to put a camera in the dens, but we do put cover hay in the dens, and certainly it's dark, it's basically dry, and full of hay, so that's kind of what they use the dens for. But you can see the pups are really have a good, nice winter pelage, and so their snow is settling on their guard hairs, and they are inquisitive about what's going on. Grayson on the left and Axel on the right, and Bolts just kind of came over to watch. But by about 2 in the afternoon, this is more of what we saw. We were getting about an inch in an hour, and that makes for some significant buildup of snow. And around here, when we get buildup of snow, we have gates to deal with. We have obviously access issues. We have fence issues. We have branches breaking off and hitting the enclosure. We had a tree, actually a dead tree, that had to be sawn off the enclosure. And so while the wolves might think this is a fun thing to do, and especially Aiden really seems to come alive in winter when there's snowfall. There's a lot of work for wolf care staff to be able to keep the facility safe and secure for the wolves. But like I said, Aiden is, as a pack leader, is taking the lead, kind of showing those pups how to interact with the deeper snow. And this is Grayson, who followed Aiden. Grayson's been forming an alliance with Aiden. He still has a little bit of nervousness, and he seems to see Aiden kind of as a comfort. And so a lot of times wherever Aiden is, Grayson will be, and especially if things get too rough, Aiden almost always intervenes. And again, I don't know if it's on Grayson's behalf or the fact that when Denali chases or Bolts chases, that they're gaining some status, and that's something that Aiden wants to put an end to. But for the most part, again, obviously the pups spend most of their time together. But second of all, I'd say the biggest alliance we see is Grayson following Aiden around. Today I put out some cover hay. We typically don't put out any cover hay on the snow until the snow is stopped, but once it starts getting compacted, it loses its insulating value, and so we want to give them a warm place to lie in the sun. And so we put out some cover hay today, and Grayson and Aiden immediately rested in it, and then as the other wolves moved in, Grayson and Aiden left to go into the den. So that's kind of interesting to watch. So like I said, Denali still kind of chases Grayson a little bit and causes him a little bit of a tuck tail. But if you look here on the right, that is Grayson. In the middle is Denali, and Axel's on the left there. So even though they just got finished with a chasing bout, they are resting together. So that's the slate den that they're on top of. Inside there is cover hay. It's pretty much wide open. gets a little bit of snow in it, but the pump housing is where Aiden is climbing onto right now, and Bolts is on there as well. So we'll put some cover hay on top of that. That vantage point, again, that whole pump housing was built for the purpose of being able to put in UV filters, which are above the ground, to be able to filter water for algae. But it really has turned into a bonus for the wolves to be in the front of the exhibit with that opportunity to climb up on the rocks and to be able to rest there in the wintertime. So we'll be putting some cover hay down there as well once the snow kind of settles, although I understand that we're getting another storm coming in tomorrow night, so not much of a snow. From my understanding, it'll be under 6 inches, but this will be a constant kind of a maintenance issue for us, is always giving them fresh cover hay. So you can see Denali up on the back and the slate den with both pups, Aiden and Bolts in the front. And Aiden's been doing quite well this winter. His whatever physical abnormalities he had earlier this year seem to be managing quite well. And Bolts has been doing a little bit of testing. Bolts has been reacting when Luna kind of reacts, and there's been a little bit of tension between Luna and Bolts through the fence. And there have been times when we've had to move the pack off to get some work done, and where they're not too far away from each other, and we definitely have a little bit of challenges between Bolts and Luna, and some overlying or underlying, I guess would be the best way to put it, aggression that Luna has, and in a response that Bolts has towards Luna. So clearly I think we are at the point where we, at least for this winter, have to make the assessment that Luna's probably not going to be coming back into this pack. Actually, this pack is very calm. Short little bouts around 3 or 4 in the afternoon of some chasing and some social engagement that actually starts sometimes with Grayson, sometimes with Axel, where they start the invite chase. Actually, sometimes Aiden does, but it's very calm, and you can see here again they're resting together. And as I said, Grayson's on the right there at Denali. He may have moments where he doesn't like to be chased by Denali, but that doesn't change his relationship and his willingness to feed with Denali. And I do hand feed kibble yet on some of the cooler days, and rest with Denali in these whiteout conditions here. So that is something that we are going to recognize, is that this pack is going to be a pack of males for a period of time until we can figure out if there's some other relationship that can be formed during the summer. So with that said, we needed to address Luna and Grizzer before the winter hit, because winter makes things a little bit more dominant. So you may have noticed in the video cam we did move the camera from the east side. Didn't move the camera, just switched to different cameras. We have surveillance all over the facility, but we put the webcam on the surveillance camera in the pack holding area, and have been working with Luna and Grizzer together. So this is Luna posturing, doing kind of a interaction to present herself, and so the anal scent glands as well as the precaudal tail gland have a scent there, and so Luna, she's kind of doing a little bit of a face-off. It's a little bit more invasive, but she goes down into a play bow and invite chase, and doing a little bit of a race around there for Grizzer. I mean, we call it the Grizzer 500. Luna, we're not really sure what that it was, but it was excited. And so they're getting along quite well from the standpoint of no aggression. But we still have an issue with Luna in food. Today we had she has cash in the den, and she was guarding it pretty heavily from Grizzer. She was guarding it from me as well. So we have to deal with that. Luna, again, is engaging. She's doing a little bit of standover, trying to show some status on Grizzer. Here, Grizzer is not interested in partaking in that kind of standoff. Like I said, scent, doing a scent gland inspection, that kind of thing. And Luna actually here will roll over for him. So that's different than the invite chase that she just did in the last video clip. So we're watching that, and what we decided to do is we're going to do a little bit of feeding difference here. Rather than giving them larger carcasses that are they feed on for a day or two and that Luna can defend, we're going to go back to a more frequent feeding, 3-4 times a week, smaller amounts of food, and then lock them up on Saturday night so they have their separate enclosures. They get a deer leg, they can guard it. so Grizzly doesn't have to put up with Luna in her intensive guarding of food. That's it for this week's YouTube, and again, thanks for watching, and I'll try to get some wolf vlogs up explaining a couple of other situations that we're trying to manage here. So thanks, and have a good week.